ranking the albums.
It's not immediately obvious where to start with Catatonia. Their pre-album work has been compiled in a few ways. I advocate this one. This has the most unique tracks on it and introduces their sound. It's a kind of hazy, anthemic pop rock that the name somewhat implies. Really, a lot of Catatonia's work is great examples of what we now call dream pop. Think dream pop, but good. Predictably for this kind of product, the only problems with it are its brevity, some tracks being repeated on the superior next release. Well, earlier release than this compilation version, but it's there's some roots that Catatonia grew away from a bit. It grew away naturally, but it's worth going back to hear those. The tracks that got re-recordings, the same kind of vibe, which just makes the earlier recordings sound like the demo versions. So it's inessential in an obvious format way, but obviously my format considered it essential to include. Getting onto proper albums, although still proper albums that involve sweeping up the dregs of prior recordings. Here's a dream pop opus. Karis hasn't yet found the roar in her voice, and though that's obviously one of the band's strengths, making something without it gives this a distinct character. Maybe stuff like Cocteau Twins and the Cardigans are more of a conscious influence on dream pop. That doesn't stop this from being the most complete product of that 90s vibe of it. It's melodically lovely, every track could be a single, there's a lush vibe to the whole thing. Really good debut. Then the bestseller, the one you've seen copies of everywhere. I don't know how people are getting bored of this though, because once again every track is single worthy, but now it's got a fuller sound. Like the kind of polite, trebly vibe to this one held it down a bit. This does without that. It's the band at their best, providing first-class pop songs. And there's kind of more oomph to the content too. Maybe the creative content of this album would give it classic status on its own, but it's the confidence they deliver it with that really cements it. Maybe I'll write oomph by this one, but with a PH or an F. 1 calendar year later is the follow down. It's striking the same vibe as the last one, but it's just lacking. The songs don't have enough for pulse and don't have enough for hook. It's still far from bad overall, and when you get to that last song you can forget that it was mediocre. It's just maybe a bit too consciously accessible in a way that they've not quite nailed in this dual case. It's simply a less good version of a great thing, so it's still carrying the Catatonia vibe. It's still worth having and putting on. There's just little that's unique or particularly creative to this one. We're already on to the last one thus far. And online sources suggest that this one wasn't well received. Maybe it's just the timing, because I don't see how it could be the content. On here, the Tonia are being fearlessly creative. They're delivering on their vibe and they're branching out with it and having fun, and it's inclusive fun. There's quite a vibe of the related band, the Super Furry Animals, on this one. And when I compare you to someone who are most notable for their innovation, that means you're doing innovation. And this time they had nailed being accessible, it's just people no longer wanted to access it. And it does that without neglecting hooks, very much like the Super Furry Animals. That vibe really suits and flatters Catatonia. There's a bit of a woozy quality to Catatonia that comes across as fun, comes across as comfort, and also a bit of danger. That's what they do particularly well, that and make awesome pop songs.